Hello everyone, I am Jainy and I have been photographing birds for over 10 years now. Today I shall walk you through some of my bird pictures. As we all know, a picture is worth 1,000 words. The photographs and the visual imagery that it creates serves as a very powerful tool to augment conservation efforts. Our images and the stories they convey could galvanize a wider section of the society towards such effective conservation measures. To get a very good photograph or reasonably good photograph of a species, it's better to have a clear idea of the target species, like the behavior of the birds, the seasons in which the birds are active, the preferred area and time of foraging, and so on. But while in the field, it's of prime importance that we have patience and perseverance. And at times, we have to be determined and assertive as well to get whatever we want. This is a western tragopan. It's probably one of the rarest of all the living pheasants. It's a highly range-restricted species, very shy, very elusive, and probably this is the most difficult bird I have ever photographed. I tried for this bird in 2 consecutive years, trekking in those high mountain ranges of the great Himalayan National Park was physically very, very stressful. And there was no level walk anywhere, and carrying a camera that heavy made it all the more difficult. The first time that we attempted for this bird, the entire week that we spent out there, we could get no sightings or not even a call. The second time was never easy too. We could hear the call at certain places, but no sighting. Actually, what happened was that, any slightest rustle on the forest floor were alerting the pheasant's Himalayan monal. And when they take off, all the other pheasants in the area were getting alerted. So that was the scenario that was happening out there. And I started to believe, actually, that it's a very phantom bird, and I will never be able to see it or click it. As frustration was creeping on me, but I didn't give up. I just kept myself, going, okay, it should happen like that. And finally, just before a day, before our trip was about to end, we got an unforgettable sighting of this magnificent bird running up close to us. And I was extremely happy, and the famous ornithological journal, The Birding Asia, featured this sighting and also published it as a cover photo of that particular issue of the magazine. This is another pheasant. This is a Blight's tragopan, and this is also a totally stunning species from the Northeast Himalayas. I had tried for this bird several times, but all in vain. And this time around, we thought we would trek through the mountains for any possible sightings. And as we trekked along, we tried for this bird at several places, but no response. And it was actually getting dark by the time we reached the end of the road, several kilometers down below. And just a kilometer walk along the road, our local guide, he noticed something red in the bamboo cover below. So first we thought it's a bright leaf before it moved. Then we suddenly took the cover of a culvert nearby and started waiting patiently, hoping that the pheasant would cross the road. Actually, pheasants are known for that. They sort of take almost the similar path every day. So we waited, and after probably 10-15 minutes, the bird started crossing the road. And when the bird was about to give just a brilliant frame, a truck came from the opposite side, whirring and honking. The bird got spooked, and it just turned back, and you can see the motion blur in the tail area. This is another stunning pheasant. It's It has a very beautiful plumage. It's called the grey peacock pheasant. It is a bird which is often heard than seen. So it's not very easy to make this a picture of this bird, and probably there's very few photographs of this bird available from our country. This is a Mrs. Hume's pheasant. It's not a great photo, but it's a very threatened species. And this picture was made from Nagaland. Due to the rampant hunting in that part of the world, it's extremely difficult to see this bird in the daytime. It's very shy, and thus we had to do the night treks. We had to use the help of the local hunters because they were the best trackers available. And so we would start from the camp at around, say, 6 to 7 p.m., then trek through the steep terrain, very steep terrain out there, and then get back at around 2 to 3 a.m. We had to do this for about continuous 5 nights. And before, we got a sighting of the female bird. And our village headman, he was of the opinion that, it's better sort of to give up on the male bird. But I insisted, and I said it, I were not to leave this place without getting a sighting of the male bird. And then probably he put in more efforts along with his men, and the very next day we got a sighting of this perched in the night roost. I think this is probably the only photograph of the male bird from India. I believe that great sightings and good photographs are always a result of a teamwork. An excellent team of tour operators, tour guides, the local help, our birder friends, drivers, and so on. This is the example of such a picture. This is a very rare owl, Tawny Owl. And my first sighting of this bird was during my first ever visit to Dachigam National Park in Kashmir. We chanced upon a beautiful pair of them when we were trekking down from the park. It was already dark, but in that faintish light, I could see the grayish white of the owl perched just a few meters away from me, staring at me. But unfortunately, that time I was not equipped for night photography, and I just had to be satisfied with just the sighting. Then ever since, I was on the constant lookout for this particular owl, and I tried it several places before I made this picture after 8 years. That was last September 2018. So this would not have been possible without the help of the local guides and the local security guards out there in the park, and also my tour guide. And this is snow partridge. It's a very highly camouflaged bird of the high altitude. In those mist-covered rocks, these birds would just blend along and would appear just as another piece of rock or stone. So when we were desperately searching for this bird, our driver located it and showed it to us. This is a Blight's kingfisher. It's not a very great picture, but it's a very favorite picture of mine. This is one of the rarest kingfishers of the world. My first sighting was from the Namdapha National Park in 2014. We started the trek around 3 a.m. Then about 20 kilometers we trekked, and then used an elephant to cross the Namdapha River at 2 different places to reach this area where a friend had earlier seen this. We searched the area for about 2 hours, but no sighting. We were pressed for time because it was getting dark, and elephants would actually find it very difficult to cross such rivers in the dark. So just then we stood up, this bird shot past us and perched at a quite distance away from us, and but along the river. Just made a shot, and till now, as I said, it's one of the benevolent sightings of me. And I was very fortunate to see a breeding pair up very close from Pakai Tiger Reserve last year. Nature always surprises us, as we all know. These are some of my serendipitous sightings. My prime targets in Walong, Arunachal Pradesh, were actually some other birds. But I was very, very lucky to photograph this species, Yunnan nuthatch, for the first time in Indian limits. It was earlier thought to be an endemic to China, and these photographs have helped the bird to be added to the Indian species checklist and also put Walong as one of the top destinations for birders in the country. The very same day, we got another great sighting, another new species added to our checklist. That's the beautiful Chinese swallowtail butterfly. And another good sighting was this, like we were looking for any nocturnal birds like owls in Mizoram when we came across this cute primate, the slow loris. It's a very threatened species. The population decline can be attributed to habitat loss, exotic pet trade, and poaching for its use in traditional medicines. Picture frames. A bird actually perched in a very nice way in itself is beautiful. But if you have like an idea, if you get an idea about the habitat in which they live in, the picture becomes all the more beautiful. We can actually make such pictures in the field by readjusting our position so as to include some elements that are basically complementary to the focus subject itself. So these are some of my favorite frames in terms of the habitat and the lighting. This is a blood pheasant. A black-necked crane, a parrotbill, a fire-tailed sunbird, a barwing, a rufous-bellied neeltawa. This incidentally became also one of the cover photos of the Birding Asia magazine. This is a shrike babbler, as an ultramarine flycatcher, a yellow-cheeked tit, a rufous-fronted tit, a spectacled finch, a pink-browed rosefinch, and a black bassa. Pictures that conveys moments, stories in terms of the moments and actions are extremely powerful. Many of us have seen award-winning photographs from very great photographers. They, sort of work on such frames, and that is the beauty of such frames. This is a crow mobbing a Eurasian griffon from Bikaner, and this is a peregrine falcon. Peregrine falcon is one of the fastest birds on earth. I made that picture when I was waiting for about 4 continuous days along a lake in Dentse village in Rajasthan, waiting for the spotted sandgrouses to turn up because they turn up at the particular time to drink water. I, of course, got the sandgrouses, but that was an amazing sighting. The falcon just dive-bombed into a flock of the sandgrouse, caught one, decapitated it mid-air, and flew off. That was an amazing moment for me to witness. And this is another favorite frame of mine, wherein which you can see the predator eyeing its prey, the small moth which is flying up. This is a Mrs. Gold sunbird displaying its wings, then wood swallows savoring their meals and enjoying the rain. If someone asks me about my favorite birding destination for exotic birds, I would always mention about New Guinea Islands. There are about 40 species of birds of paradise out there, and some of them offer the most spectacular courtship dances we could ever imagine. I was actually fortunate to spend some days out there, and I got 3 new Australasian species added to my checklist: the birds of paradise, the bower birds, and owlet nijas. It is an inexplicable feeling when we see the transformation these birds undergo when they do their display dancing. Many of these pictures have been made under very challenging light conditions. The light is very low out there, and this is a picture of a magnificent bird of paradise. And this is the same bird displaying when the female bird is around. See the transformation. This is a western parotia all puffed up, and I always felt its display dance is very amusing in that it's just a fusion between like Michael Jackson moves and it does that, and the fusion between Michael Jackson moves and the Sufi dance. It has that kind of skirts and kind of run around. But The most heart-thumping dance I have ever witnessed is of the Vogelkopf superb bird of paradise. The male bird has a very striking black plumage with its feathers absorbing about 99.95% of the available light. But during while it dances, it just displays its iridescent aqua blue breastplate to impress the females. And this is one such picture, like, the umbrella kind of image, which is in, the female is in front of it. And this is Rajiana, bird of paradise. It's an iconic bird of paradise with its flamboyant, flowing feathers. And this bird is the national bird of Papua New Guinea and also finds a place in its national flag. These birds, the male birds, are noted for its group arboreal display on a lake. And it's an amazing sight to behold when you see the group of these male birds dancing on the lake when the female birds are around. And their soft rufous feathers just would appear like burning flames. Yeah, this is one such picture. And owlet naijas, they are cryptic nocturnal birds which are related to naijas and frogmouths, but with the cute look of an owl. This is a feline owlet naija. It's a rare one compared to this mountain owlet naija, and both these pictures are made from Arfak Mountains in West Papua. And to conclude, all of us have a responsibility. It's a collective responsibility of all of us to protect the environment that we live in, to preserve our wildlife for the future generations to come. When we use the local help and the many services they offer, like the food, small tiny stalls where we can get in and have the food, etc., it's an incentive for them to protect at least the wildlife around them. So it's very important that we protect for it, we work towards it to protect them. And I would say the passion and love for birds is nothing but the care, the love for the nature itself. And I can never forget actually the sheen and shimmer in the eyes of a little girl whom I met at the Nainital Bird Festival. She came to me and she told me that, ma'am, before I go to school, every day I take a look at my bird pictures, and she does the same when she comes back from the school. And I always felt it's the greatest reward for me, to reach the younger, to inspire them, to give them an impetus to work towards the environment or to protect the beauty of it. And that's all and for me, and thank you for being such a lovely audience. I hope it was okay. And I believe that it's been inspirational for you, yeah.